Hello, Dave Moore here with PITC, and today we're going to be going over the testing procedure for an RPBA. The device we are going to be testing today is a FEBCO model 860. The first thing we do when we're testing our device is to clear the test cocks of any debris so that we don't send that through our gauge. Just flush and clear our test cocks. After we've flushed and cleared our test cocks, we take our high hose and connect it to test cock number 2. The first test that we do on an RP is testing our check 1 in forward pressure or developing our spring tension across check 1. So first going to pressurize our gauge and bleed any air. Once we've bled our gauge, we're going to isolate our device. And then we're going to open up test cock number 3. Check 1 on our RP has a minimum spring tension of 5 psi, so we must hold above 5 psi for 2 minutes on this test. We're right now maintaining a pressure of 8 psi. As long as that pressure stays constant for 2 minutes, this test is a pass. At this point, we're moving on to the next part of this test where we're going to see when our relief valve will open up. Our relief valve must open before 2 psi. We do this by slowly opening the needle valve on our gauge, placing our hand under the relief. Our relief opened at 3 pounds, which is above 2 psi, so that would be a pass. To figure out and calculate our buffer, we take our relief opening and subtract it from our pressure differential across check 1. So we had a pressure differential of 8 psi, subtract 3, so we have a buffer of 5 pounds. So again, that's a pass. We're going to close our test cocks now and move on to the next part of the test. I'm going to take our high hose and move it to test cock number 3. We're going to re-establish pressure in our device, re-establish flow through the device. We're then going to pressurize and bleed our gauge. Once our gauge is bled, we're going to isolate our device. The next test that we're doing is checking our check 2 in forward pressure. We must maintain 1 psi for 2 minutes again. So we'll open up this test cock number 4. And we're holding at 2.2 psi. As long as that stays at 2.2 psi for 2 minutes, holding above our minimum spring of 1, that's a pass. At this point, we're going to shut our test cocks. And we're going to move our high hose to test cock number 4. In this part of the test, we're checking our check 2 in reverse pressure. We're going to re-establish pressure in our device. We're going to pressurize and bleed our gauge. Once we've pressurized and bled our gauge, we're going to isolate isolation valve 1. And we're going to open up test cock number 3. Right now we're reading a pressure differential of 60 pounds because we have supply pressure on test cock 4 and we have atmospheric on test cock number 3. So we're just going to open our needle valve to relieve the pressure to bring it down to a readable level. Again, our needle must hold constant for 2 minutes. If our pressure doesn't change for 2 minutes, that's a pass. We close our test cocks and we return our device back to service.